I'd like to call the Tuesday, March 8th Committee of the Whole meeting to order. It's approximately 7:15 p.m. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Burgess. Councilman Ross.
Here.
Councilman Williams. Councilman Shelley.
Here.
Vice Mayor Fairclough.
Here.
Mayor Porter.
Here. Any additions, deletions, deferrals, Mr. Manager? Mr. Attorney, any additions? Nothing? Okay. There's been a request to move tab 7 up and tab 18 up. Is there anyone opposed to moving those two items up? Okay. Tab 7 and tab 18. Mr. Jensen was here, and I think he may have left, but okay, so let's take tab 7 at this time.
Maybe
8. I'm sorry.
17.
Yes, sir. I know. We're going to take your item now, Mr. Manager. Tab 7.
Mayor, the city has identified $20,000 in CDBG surplus funds which can be used to fund additional renovations at the Homestead Soup Kitchen. The bids received by the Homestead Soup Kitchen after their grant award of $100,000 surpassed the available funds, and therefore work had to be scaled down. Total renovation expenditures to date is $94,942.05. The additional funding will cover the following scope of work: men's restroom, walls, paint, interior cabinetry, exterior repair, stucco. Staff recommends Mayor and Council approve the award of Community Development Block Grant surplus funds in the amount of $20,000 to the Homestead Soup Kitchen for additional renovation work.
I know we had some questions early on. Are there any questions from the council at this time on tab 7? Mr. Williams?
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. I know we had asked staff to provide us with the work that had already been done, and so that we will have a clear sight view of what the amount that we talked about the last time, to actually see what the work that went into the building as it relates to the brick and mortar part of it. Mayor, all of my concerns are been answered, and I'll move the item.
Okay, it's moved. Is there a second? Second. Any other comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion carries. Tab 7. Now we'll go to tab 18. Mr. Manager? Yeah.
Mayor, the Everglades Bicycle Club is holding their annual Everglades Bicycle Club Roland Mazzotti Snowbird Century Bicycle Ride on March 20th, 2016, and all net proceeds will be split between the benefiting Alzheimer's Association and Everglades Bicycle Club, a not-for-profit organization. They're requesting Mayor and Council authorize City Manager to assist the club by means of waiving the usage fee, an amount of $315 for the use of the sports complex parking lot on March 20th, 2016.
Mr. Burgess?
Thank you, sir. As I think most of my colleagues know, I'm a bicycle enthusiast. Ride 4 days a week, as long as I'm healthy and able to. And this is a 2 rides a year that Everglades Bike Clubs bring down to the Homestead area. One is generally in the fall or middle of October, that goes out of the Homestead Miami Speedway, and rides anywhere from 60. They do a family ride of about 25 miles, a 40-mile ride, a 63-mile ride, and a 100-mile ride, and get anywhere from 600 to 800 participants for the day down here. The spring ride does approximately the same numbers, with the participation about the same level, and they're just asking for our help over there, as all their money goes to different charities each year. They pick a different one. Several years ago, I know we did the ride for Patches down the road here that we all support heavily, and every year they try to pick another one. This year it's one of the board members, his mother's passed away from Alzheimer's, so they've chosen the Alzheimer's Association to help them with some funding to enhance their ability to find a cure for that. So I will take care of the funds myself, but I just wanted to let Oscar, the president of EBC, come up and say a couple words if he wanted to over there at the podium. And I know that the city helps them with police officers and stuff like that. So I just wanted he wanted a chance to come up and say thank you. And
Oscar, before you say anything, let me get Mr. Roth here. Mr. Roth?
Yeah, I just have a question. Tab 17 is about the same thing, waiver of fees for the same place. And I think we had this conversation before. The fee set for this is $315.
Well, I believe it's because one is an overnight thing, and this is just a portion of the day.
Okay, I just curious because the other one's $1,000, and the descriptions are identical to that. So I was just curious, and I think this came up before where we were going to actually talk about, why is it $1,000 to rent a parking lot?
I was out that day, and I know my assistant filled in that day, and he was telling me. To let you know, the bike ride is going to be taking the concession stand and the bathrooms, of course, for the riders. And also, we're just charging them for the 4 fields. The Relay for Life is taking the whole parking lot for an overnight. To let you know, the fees were set before my time when they used to have the circus there. I don't know if some of you all remember, but they came out with the fees of $1,000 for that grassy area. So that's why we went with that amount. And plus, it's an overnight thing. If that answers your question, Councilman.
Fair enough, yes.
Okay, yes, sir. Go right ahead, sir.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the opportunity to introduce my club, Everglades Bicycle Club, South Florida's oldest and largest cycling organization. Every year we do 2 signature rides. One of them is the one before you now, the Snowbird Century. In the fall, we do the Freedom Ride, which generally benefits the veterans, some veterans organization. The last couple of years, it's been the Achilles Foundation, which provides mobility to injured war veteran who like to cycle by giving them, facilitating them in the use of hand cycles and things similar to that. This year, our big signature ride starts from the Homestead Sports Complex, and it benefits, as the Councilman Burgess has mentioned, the Alzheimer's Association. It's not so much the $315 of waiver that we're interested in, although every little bit helps. It's more because if we get the waiver of that admittedly very modest usage fee, we get to list the city as a sponsor, which is what we really want. We want to be able to promote the ride. It's only a few days away. We want to be able to promote the ride, that we're doing it in cooperation and with the sponsorship of the city of Homestead. Every year we do 2 major rides, and both of those rides leave from Homestead. So we want to do a better job of involving the city and recognizing the city's importance to these rides.
Mr. Burgess?
Thank you. And I know we had a bicycle festival, and I know that we actually have a budget for that, I believe. There was some money, or did that money get pulled? I can't remember. Pulled it? Okay. I couldn't remember. So I know that we did have one. They were successful. So I've introduced them to our PIO in her office about perhaps becoming a little bit better and stronger unit down here, because like I said, they do bring nearly 1,000. By the time you bring families and all down, there's 1,000 people here for the day that could come and enjoy the city or whatever. We have, we could find various spots to do the ride from, perhaps not always from the racetrack or down there, but as we could build a larger thing and make it a citywide event too. So that's my hopes in the future now that I've met Oscar and we can move forward and maybe have some meetings. But like I said, if anybody else wants to pitch in, they're more than welcome to pitch in. But if not, no matter what, I will cover the expenses out of my PR account, and I'll let my assistant know in the morning.
Thank you, Councilman.
And Mr. Manager, as a procedural question, I mean, if Mr. Burgess pays for this, then the facility, the biking group can use the city's name as part of their marketing? Do we need to? Okay, but
Good. Yeah. Would be Councilman John Burgess, city, yeah. Pardon? Yeah. I mean, you don't really have a policy on it, so if when a council person sponsors something, you want to authorize the council person to then say it's sponsored by the city of Homestead, you can do that, or you can have a policy that says if Councilman John Burgess sponsors it, it says sponsored by Councilman John Burgess, City of Homestead. That's up to the council how you want to do that.
okay, Mr. Shelley?
Well, yeah, I just have concerns about how to have this wide open policy about allowing the city's logo and power, so to speak, to be associated with all the different events. But I think an easy way to solve that is just if we want this to be a sponsored event, we just make a motion, we sponsor it, and we problem solved, and we can deal with a broader discussion about policy later versus trying to hash that out tonight on the fly.
Right.
So.
Okay. Well, Mr. Williams?
Procedurally, then, if Mr. Burgess is going to pay for it out of his PR account, then would it be applicable to even talk about this item?
Only from the sponsorship, only from their ability to
Only
use the city's
from putting
logo
the
as
city's name on it. If it wants to just say sponsored by Councilman John Burgess, City of Homestead, that doesn't require council approval. On the other hand, if the council wants to say sponsored by the City of Homestead, I think there should be some formal action by the council as opposed to being sponsored by an individual council person.
And with respect to what the gentleman was looking for, I mean, he said clearly that he wanted to be able to use the city to help promote. And I'm not
Yes,
saying
sir.
that that's good or bad, but he needs that ability. He wants that ability to do that as well. I have no problem with it myself, but I agree that, you know, we need to have some sort of discussion about how we open or not open that door. But for tonight's purposes, rather than debate that, I'll make a motion to allow him to use the city's logo as part of his marketing of his event, even with the assumption that Mr. Burgess is going to pay for it all. So I'll make the motion to allow in this particular case, on this individual case. Is there a second? It's moved and seconded. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, so your fees, we're not gonna waive the fees. They're gonna be picked up by the council members, either all by Mr. Burgess or all of us who can contribute. And the council has voted to allow you to use the city as part of your sponsorship.
Thank you very much. I appreciate
Okay,
it.
sir.
For the benefit of the clerk, my name is Oscar De La Guardia, and I am the chairman of the Snowbird Century this year. Thank
Okay.
you very much,
Thank you,
ladies
sir.
and gentlemen.
Does the council want to go ahead and take care of the other waiver fee right now? We're on it, we're talking about it. So tab 17, Mr. Manager.
Mayor, the American Cancer Society, well, let's say, the American Cancer Society has requested the mayor and council authorize city manager to approve a waiver of usage fee in the amount of $1,000 for the use of Homestead Sports Complex parking lot on April 23, 2016, to host its annual Relay for Life event.
You know, earlier when we talked about this, Dennis, obviously you weren't here. It kind of made me step back that we would charge, you know, $1,000 for an open air parking lot that has no real expense to us from the point of it's there anyway. You know, we're not paying any additional. So to me, it just didn't make a whole lot of sense for us to be charging $1,000 for something that really, if there was an expense involved in it, if you know, then it made sense. It would make sense. This just didn't make sense to me.
And I understand, Mayor, the only thing is when my staff, when we ask for waiver fees, we have to come up with something, and what the staff came up with was the $1,000 they used to charge before. So that's why we put the money value on it, Mayor.
And you said something about a circus. What was that? You said in the past a circus was out there or something?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Mayor. I don't know if you remember when they had the circus there one year. I think it was a couple years back. I'm sorry, about 99, 98. We used to have the circus there, and that's where they came up with the fees. I don't know if you remember that, but we used to have that.
Vaguely, but that's a for-profit situation.
Yes, sir.
You know, so from the point of view of the expense to Parks and Rec, what is the expense to Parks and Rec for this to happen?
Really, for us, no expense, because we're not going to be out there doing anything. We're just letting them use that piece of land, that open space. They'll be responsible for cleaning up and everything. So really would not be expense for us.
Okay, Mr. Burgess? No. Anyone else? Any questions from council? Mr. Burgess?
Then going back to the previous people, what is the expense to council, to the city there?
We're going to have to turn on the lights because they're going to start at 5 in the morning. So they're going to have lights on, and we're going to have staff there to open up the bathrooms and make sure they're clean and everything.
Okay,
So that's why there, sir.
okay. Thank you.
So is this other group going to need the same thing?
I guess they can answer that question if they're going to bring porta potties or not,
Okay.
Mayor.
Mr. Williams?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I think to say that it doesn't cost the city anything is not quite accurate, that we would want to use that, because it does cost us to turn the lights on personnel, so it does have some value to it. What that value is, of how many people it takes and how much money that is, I don't know. Do you have a cost of what for that personnel and to ensure that they clean up, what is, and close up, or however, what is the cost of that?
Councilman Williams, to let you know, the Relay for Life usually do everything. In that area, the lights come on automatically at night. And the situation of the bike is that we had to turn on the baseball field lighting.
Right.
So that's like a $7.25 an hour fee.
How much?
$7.25 an hour fee
For
the
who?
lights, per light.
Oh, per light, okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how many lights is it, you said?
They're going to probably be using 2 baseball fields at that time this is for the bike. For the American Cancer Society, they automatically have parking lights there that come on automatically.
Okay.
So we won't charge for that.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm very supportive of
Yes, sir.
the waiver.
Any other questions from council? Does anyone want to speak to the applicant? Is there a motion?
Move it.
Moved and
Second.
seconded? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay. Now we want to go back to tab 1. Mr. Manager?
Mayor, this company by the name of Y Green has a proposal for the city, and they'd like to make a brief presentation.
Mayor,
Yes, sir. Mr.
for
Williams?
full public disclosure, I did meet with both of the 2 presenters, and they went over their plan with me, so I want to make sure that I put that on the record, that we have been conversing over
sir.
this.
Go right ahead, sir.
Good evening. Rafael Perez, 3390 Mary Street, 124, Miami, Florida, 33133, Y Green Energy Fund. Oh, thank you. Good evening, Mayor, council member, manager, staff. Thank you for this opportunity. I pulled a brief presentation I had from before. I apologize that I didn't know I had to do a presentation, but I'll be quick so questions could be asked. Where am I aiming?
It's not working?
I'm not sure. Just sideways? That way? Okay, perfect. So what I'm bringing to you tonight is called Property Assessed Clean Energy, for those that don't know. It's another financing option available out there for property owners. It was established in the legislature in 2010, and the statute is 163.08. And what it does is allows property owners that want to do improvements to their property, which fall under renewable energy, so if they want to do solar, energy efficiency upgrades, so if they want to change their AC, insulation, water heater, or lastly, hurricane-proof their property, impact windows or roof, they could finance these projects through a non-ad valorem assessment through their property taxes. So how does the city join? A while back, Cutler Bay was one of the founding cities with 6 other cities joined and created a special taxing district, if you want to call it, but how it was created in the statute was a legal separate entity. And what that does is allows the cities to join through interlocals, and the district's responsible for all the administration, all the liability, and all the risk. I know it's small, it's hard to see. As of recent, the city of Fort Lauderdale and Pembroke Pines just joined last week. We have a total of 28 cities in Miami-Dade and Broward, predominantly in Miami-Dade. 20 cities have adopted this. A lot of cities close to you, Cutler Bay, Pinecrest, Palmetto Bay, have already adopted this. And the district that's formed is the Clean Energy Green Corridor District that has been validated by the Supreme Court, so our bonds are validated. And once again, we provide all financing, all administration, no tax dollars to the government and body. In order to qualify for this, it's not credit-based. You have to have 10% equity in your property, be current on your property taxes for the last 3 years of the period of ownership. There's also no notice of default for the last 3 years, no voluntary liens, be current on your mortgage, and not be currently in bankruptcy. So if you meet those criteria, you could finance these type of projects in your property. What types of properties we serve? Industrial, commercial, nonprofit, multifamily, single-family homes. Once again, these are the upgrades you could do to your house, renewable energy, solar, energy efficiency. Predominantly what we're seeing is a lot of people are doing mostly impact windows or the roof. A lot of the homes in this neighborhood in 1992, as we all know, we went through Hurricane Andrew, are now coming, or maybe their second phase of having to replace their roof. And if they don't replace their roof, their insurance is going to go up with knowing how Citizens is acting now. So this is giving property owners another option. This is just another option for them to finance these projects where it doesn't affect their credit, doesn't affect their debt to income, and give them another opportunity. There's a list of different eligible items there. There's a vast amount of items. If it produces energy, if it reduces the consumption of energy, or if it protects the property from hurricane, it can be financed through this vehicle. It's very hard for me to read, but it's what benefits does it have this to the city? 100% financing, no out-of-pocket expense to the property owner. The biggest obstacle for people doing improvements is coming out of pocket. If you have to finance $15,000, $20,000 of impact windows in your house, nobody has that money to come out of pocket. So we would provide the financing to the property owner through paying the contractor, and they in return will pay it back through increments of 5, 10, 15, or 20 years through their property taxes. It's voluntary. This is a special assessment that you choose to put in your property. So if the mayor would like to do this in her property, his property is his. He's self-imposing this on himself, not a special assessment like they traditionally are, where everybody is assessed. No liability to the administration or the city. Once again, individual's choice, and it's not credit-based, so it doesn't affect your credit. So the benefit to property owners is, since it's not going against their credit, it doesn't affect their debt to income, and people could do other things. Earlier, I was able to come to your CRA discussion. We are matching CRA funds for communities that the commercial property owner doesn't have the money. We are doing it in North Miami currently. We've done it for a couple of projects. People had the ability to get matching grants for $40,000. They didn't have how to get their portion, and we were able to allow that and be able to provide the $40,000 so they could get matching grant so they could uplift the community. So this is, I think, has a lot of different avenues that it could go. Benefits of property owners: eliminates upfront expenses, not credit-based, long payback periods. Payments may stay with the property. It's off balance sheet for commercial. Potential real savings. In a lot of cases, people are saving more money than what the cost is. Let's say for impact windows, by putting the windows, their savings is surpassing their financing costs. So it's a win-win. Instead of them paying more premium, they're using that money to pay for an improvement. So it's a wash, or sometimes, in some cases, people are on the plus side. Just an example of a property tax bill. It's hard for me to see, but you guys can see. In the bottom is a non-ad valorem. Our assessment is fixed, so it doesn't go up and down. It's not ad valorem. It doesn't affect the property owners. The statute is very clear that if somebody that says does impact windows, wind hardens their property, or does renewable energy, that the property appraisal cannot increase the value of the property. And lastly, we have our system. Just to let you know a little bit about our program. Once again, 28 cities. We have counties. We're in final negotiations with Broward County. Today, Miami-Dade County approved the ordinance to allow this to be in all the rest of the county. And up to today, Leon County in Tallahassee has adopted this program. Alachua County, we're in final negotiations also with Pinellas County. So it's growing. This concept is growing in California. They've done over $1 billion in projects last year for 50,000 projects. And what we've been able to accomplish here in the cities that we've been in the last couple of years is $42 million in projects for over 2,000 projects. So a lot of people have taken advantage of this. Last year, we put $15 million in the tax rolls, and this year we'll put another $30 million in the tax rolls. So all the kinks and all the things have been worked out with the First Cities, and you guys are, if you wish to move forward, are coming on board in a good time. I've had lots of property owners from Homestead approach us. We've spoken, I think, to some council members a while back, staff. I mean, this has been ongoing conversation for maybe a year. So we're excited for this opportunity to be able to be in front of you. Thank you.
Questions from council, Mr. Williams?
Yes. Mayor, my question, Mr. Hernandez. If Ms. Sue Lou has a reverse mortgage, how does that process work? And so if the family, she gets a reverse mortgage to take care of whatever the obligation is till she is deceased, and then what happens if she tries to enter in this program with?
So Councilman, great question. At the beginning, we would tell Ms. Lou, we can't move forward because, it's a reverse mortgage, but that's not the way I run our company. We try to find solutions because people are in need.
Right.
So usually what a reverse mortgage does is encumbers the whole property. Let's say the property value is $300,000. They would put on the the clerk that there's a $300,000 loan on the property because they're trying to encumber the whole property so nobody else places. What we've done is we've reached out to, Ms. Lou reaches out to the reverse mortgage company. Mm-hmm. She needs a roof. If they wish to go ahead and help her with the roof, we are for that. We have disclosures encouraging people to go to their banks first before us. So what happens is Ms. Lou, that $300,000, they lower it down and they put a cap so whatever happens doesn't surpass that. But Councilman, if we give Ms. Lou a roof, the value goes up together with the roof. It doesn't go down. If Ms. Lou doesn't put her roof, she would pay more for insurance.
Right.
There's a lot of benefits by doing this. It would help out.
Right. In the area in which I represent, there's a lot of reverse mortgages. So because of they're up in age, and their children no longer live here. However, and so I know you said that they have to have at least 10%, of equity within the house, but with a reverse mortgage, it would make it kind of, there will have to be other arrangements made in order for them to take full view of the process here. So I think it's a great process. I think it's a great concept. I wholeheartedly support it. I think it can work in some of the programs that we may have as an additional added enhanced benefit to some of the things that we're trying to do, especially within the area. And the houses within the Southwest are very old in structure and nature, and I think they will tremendously benefit. Now, talk to me about the average cost just give me average cost of a roof. How much would Ms. Lou have to pay back, and for what period of time?
Okay, so I'm just going to hypothetical. So let's say Ms. Lou's home is 1,200 square feet, an older home, shingle. Right now, the square, and because I'm a general contractor, I'm just guesstimating. Shingle roof could go up $400 or $500 a square. Mm-hmm. So let's say she has 12 squares, so $7,000, $8,000. She finances that. If she wished to go 20 years, her payment will be about $700 a year. So if you break that down,
how much a year?
I'm guessing, Mr. Councilman Williams, just to make sure, about, let's say $700. So that will cost her, let's say, $65 a month.
Okay. So, and it's included in her tax bill, or
yes.
Is it included in a monthly?
So we are just like any other non-ad valorem assessment. Maybe the city has trash pickup, so it's placed on her tax bill. Now, if the person escrows, mm-hmm. then it'll be taken off from her. From her, she'll be paying monthly.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Burgess?
Thank you, Mayor. Going to the interest and stuff, it says that the finance agreement is prepared by the administrator and that rate will be set 90 days out. Where do you guys find your interest rate and who's the administrator? That's somebody in your company, but where, I guess, more importantly is how do you guys come up with your formula for what the interest rate to be charged is?
Great question. So when we first validated our bonds and we went to the market, it's tied to a LIBOR swap. So it's not even 90 days, every 30 days. The market is very volatile now. So every 30 days, we are just, but it's based on a floor and a LIBOR swap. And those were bonds issued by the original 7 cities. I mean, they're the mayors, so color-based mayors on the City of Miami Mayor, Coral Gables, Pinecrest, Palmetto Bay, South Miami. So we have a set. So this month's rates for 5 years is 6.5, and for 20 years is 7.3. One of our biggest...
Say the older, the
longer one?
20 years was what?
20 years is 7.33.
Okay.
Something. One of our biggest advocates for this program is Home Depot. Home Depot has Home Depot exteriors, which is windows and doors. The best rate that they could give in their home project loans is 7.99 for 20 years. So Home Depot uses our program. I think they've done out of that 40 million, maybe $5-6 million. So a lot of contractors seeing this benefit because in the contracting business it's very hard. Sometimes people have, they do have, they're credit worthy, but if you ever go to a furniture store and you try to buy furniture, they're like, you're eligible for $3,000. Well, same thing happens if they go to Home Depot or credit-based companies. They don't have enough money to fortify the whole property, the windows, the front door, and the back. And if they don't do that, they don't get the insurance credit. So this is how people fortify the whole property and lower their insurance, sir.
Okay. And then the one other thing I see here that, so if you pay off early, there's a 5% penalty, is that correct?
Yes, sir. So we have investors put money into this, and they, if we didn't have that, the rates would be higher. But we have created other options. We have the ability, let's say, back to Ms. Lou's example, let's say if it was $10,000, if Ms. Lou chooses at the front end, we could finance for $150 where she has no penalty ever. She could do away with it any time. Now, let's say if Ms. Lou decides year one, you know what, I was just very fortunate and got some money, it would cost her $500, whatever the remaining principal is. A lot of people, what they're choosing is just they just finance the 1.5%, which will be $150 for every 10,000, and they have no penalty.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Shelley?
Yeah, I think it's a good program. I think it's good to have other options, to have the consumer or the residents in this case have many different options to accomplish the same goal. So in that respect, I think it's good. I like it a lot. I have two concerns, or not concerns with it, but just something I don't know if you guys have looked at long term. And one is how it affects kind of the resale value of the properties, because as more of these get out there, I assume, and most times they're going to be paid off with whatever sale proceeds, so it should self-rectify. But then when you have that prepayment penalty that you just spoke about, is that also applicable at the sale of the property, or is there an exclusion for that?
Yeah, so there's studies that have shown that PACE assessments, the resale is in the cash positive. And other assessments, well, not assessments, but other improvements, like change the plumbing or change the cabinets, don't, because the next buyer might not like your cabinets. So PACE, so what I've seen is if you improve your property, let's say you put impact windows, usually your value goes to the price you paid, unless you got gouged, or your value goes up. And we haven't had an issue. We've had a couple cases where the property owner has gone conventional, and the mortgage company has said, no problem, you could keep the assessment with it, because they say the property owner could afford $100 a month extra. So we haven't had an issue. We've had a lot of people sell their homes. That 5% hasn't affected them because it lowers their insurance and stuff. So we haven't had an issue, sir.
Okay. Yeah, that's the only concern I have. I mean, again, now things are going good. Hopefully we never see a bust like we saw before. But that's just my only thing, is that as more of these hit the market and as they saturate the particular city, if we start having upside down properties again, which hopefully we never see again or we don't see again for a very long time, how is that going to be effective? Before you just had mortgages, and now you're going to be towing around also these assessments. So it's just something I raise as a concern. It's not going to affect my vote today. I support the project 100%. Although the second question is more from a staffing standpoint, and that is when I met with them, I think it was last week or the week before, the question at the end always was, what's the catch? It seems so good. What's the catch? What am I missing? What are they hiding? And so I know that you guys have had a lot of work on, at least the city attorney has, in your office, in your firm. And so, you've thoroughly vetted this. Is there a catch? And if there's not, that's really what I hear.
Yeah, I don't really think there's a catch to it. We worked with Y Green, and actually, for disclosure, we actually represented Y Green in trying to set up this program, and then we've implemented it with disclosure in a bunch of the cities. Obviously, we're not paid by them for this. So, I think the program works the way you explained it. So we haven't found any catches. Chad Freeman, who I think I know, a lot of you know, Chad set up this program and help and work with them on setting up. So if you have specific questions, then we're happy to answer them.
No specific questions. Just wanted to make sure there wasn't a gotcha moment somewhere after I vote on it. But I think this is great. Again, it provides the consumer, provides the resident other options and other choices, and I think that that's the key in a free market is to let everyone have as many choices as possible and choose the option that's best for them. So thank you.
Okay. Mr. Shelley, if just to respond to something, every time we evaluate a property, we buy data. So eventually, you're right, the market will shift. But every time we look at how the market is moving, so we follow it and we try to avoid that. Hopefully, every time the improvements that PACE allows are improvements to fortify the property and also to lower the energy consumption. So you're making a household more energy efficient and more protected, so the insurance are down. So now, could the value go down for other reasons? Possibly, but we try to look at that, and thank you for your comments.
Mr. Williams?
Yes. The fees, I know you said that, are any of these fees negotiable just for the city? In other words, are we able to negotiate some of the fees that we have listed as a city because we're adopting the program, or whatever the fees are, we have to just go with what you have indicated here? Are some of your fees negotiable
Councilman
to deal
Williams?
directly with Homestead?
I don't believe we could because we've validated this in front of the Supreme Court. We've set structured fees. Everybody plays the same. So I don't think at this time you can. There could be possibilities. I have talked to the city manager, and I forgot the terminology he said, is that if...
Most favored nation.
Yeah, if there's ever a most favored nation where a city requires something and we give something, like for every project we give them $10 or something, we will have to offer that, and we've agreed to that. Now, what the city receives is now property owners that want to use our program have to pull a permit. No more Saturday roofs or Sunday roofs and not get caught. People have to pull a permit. So we've done our little mini studies and seen that smaller cities have increased their building departments because people are now doing improvements. So it brings a little bit of fees for the city in that retrospect, and also for the communities where that one eyesore house needs a roof but nobody wants to move in there, but now the property owner can say, I put this roof, finance it over 20 years, doesn't cost me much, and I could rent it, and now that area doesn't have a sore thumb that could affect the value of the other houses.
All right. And are the fees paid up front, or I know you said in closing costs, are they upfront fees, and who pays for that, or is it rolled into?
They're all financed, sir.
They're all financed, so
yes,
they're rolled into whatever the payment is.
Yes, sir. And we have property owners, like the example I said earlier, that if it's a $20,000 project, sometimes people want to pay half in cash.
No, I
and
understand.
just do $10,000, and we allow them to do that.
Okay. And as far if this passed tonight, which I think it may, what is the marketing? How will we market this to our residents? What is
Great question. So I think it's a discussion item. We would have to pass a resolution.
I understand our process.
Okay.
I'm asking you.
So what has been most effective for us is direct mail.
Okay.
So some cities have chosen to go one route, some have not. It's your direction. Recently, Hallandale Beach joined, and the manager and the council and the mayor said, we want a letter to come from us saying this is a program that is available to the public. If you wish to use this, here it is. This is what you're eligible for.
All right.
You know, this is not a program that, I guess you endorse, whatever, but it's another option. Now, some cities have chosen not to do that, and we just send a mailer, direct mail to property owners saying, you're eligible for this amount. This is a program that the city has adopted if you choose to do this, and so on.
I got
So it's
you.
your choice. We haven't done radio or TV or other forums because then people from unincorporated were called. Now that unincorporated we got on board, maybe we change our direction. But a lot of cities have allowed us to be on your newsletter or your website, community events. If you have any events, we will send to all our contractors. Any contractor could join. There's Homestead contractors that are already part of this program. We certify them, we train them to our program. And if there's any, once again, festivals and stuff, we encourage them to come and participate in the community.
Okay, so you all are good community partners.
Absolutely, sir.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so, Richard, what do we need? Just, do we need a motion to
I
move?
think staff is looking for a direction to move ahead and formulate the documents needed for the city to enter.
Is anyone opposed to moving forward and having the documents brought back to us? Okay, you got to go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Tab 2. Manager.
Staff recommends Mayor and Council consider an amendment to the City Code Section 30446, disabled persons parking spaces, to add language that parking spaces for disabled persons shall be provided in accordance with Chapter 11 of the Florida Building Code. And Joe, did you want to say a few things?
Yes, sir. The City Code, Chapter 30, has a handicap parking standard that requires that the minimum requirement be 2 parking spaces. Somebody from the Planning and Zoning Board brought to our attention that may be onerous on real small developments or commercial centers. We actually looked up the county or the state code and found that our code wasn't in compliance with the state code, and it needs to be. And so we're really making this correction to make sure that we're in compliance with the state code. And what the state code does is really assign handicap parking spaces on a ratio basis. So, for instance, the first you're required to have 1 handicap space for the first 25 spaces, all the way up to 100, then 1 for every 50 spaces, from 100 to 200, and 1 for every 100 spaces, from 200 to 500, and so on as you go up. This just makes us in compliance with that code, and so we're recommending approval.
Mr. Shelley.
Yeah, does this provide more protection or less protection, or more spaces or less spaces than our code does?
It would provide basically the same, but less for facilities that require less than 25 spaces. So right now, a facility with 25 or less spaces would be required by our code to have 2. In the future, it would be required to have 1, and that's essentially why this was brought up, is that...
Okay, so it was to protect the smaller developments that need
Correct.
parking's at a premium, but also... Okay, understood, thank you.
You're welcome.
So from the council, this would come back, Richard, what are we doing? Same thing? Is there any opposition to you bringing this back to us in the form of a code change? That's what you were talking?
Yeah, well, I assume then it goes from the committee of the whole to the council meeting and gets approved next time. I guess you do a public comment portion, and then we would make the change. Is that the 2 readings, I would assume?
Okay. Okay, so any opposition to bringing this back?
Yeah, we would bring it to a council meeting, not a council.
Right, exactly. Okay. Any questions, Joe, on that? You okay?
I'm good. Thank you.
Tab 3, we had some discussion about what we were going to do with charter review. So, Mr. Burgess, did you want to? I mean, when we talked the last time, excuse me, Richard, the issue was that the charter review is not required this year. It's required next year to go through the full process. And so the question, I guess, from the council would be, we could do a shorter version. We could do pretty much anything that the council directs at this particular point. But by rule, we're going to have to do it again next year. Correct?
Correct. That's correct. But in terms of this process, it's totally what the council formulates. The size of the committee, the length, what they look at, how they do it, that's all up to the council, because there's nothing in the code at all you're sort of outside the requirements of the code. This is sort of a total voluntary charter review, which you can do or not do, and do it any way you like.
Right, in the code, if I'm not mistaken, it says that in the year when it has to be done, the committee's formed in like December. And I think that,
At its first regular meeting in December of every fifth year after the adoption of this charter, commencing in December 2017. So that would be 2017. The mayor, subject to approval of the council, shall appoint a charter review committee consisting of 5 persons. The city attorney shall serve as council. The charter CRC shall commence its proceedings within 45 days after appointment by the council. If the CRC determines that a revision is needed, it shall direct the city attorney to draft such charter amendments to this charter as it deems appropriate and submit the same to council as the CRC's recommendation, not later than 120th day after their appointment by the council.
and those rules only apply to the charter required process
Right.
next year.
These rules do not apply now.
They would not apply now. Okay. So in essence, individual, there was some conversation or question about saying, does each individual council person want to, say to the body, I'd like to talk about the color of the street signs. As part of a charter question to the body, we could do that exercise. We could still form a 7-person committee, and in this particular case, Steve Shelley has been asked to do this. Now, obviously, we're starting late if we're going to do the full-blown process. So, Mr. Williams?
Oh, my only question is that, according to what Richard, you've just read, the appointment does not take place until December 2017, so it will be after the election next year. So we have a municipal election next year. So after that is done, then it won't be on the ballot until 2018? Is that what I'm understanding?
If they went on the ballot.
Right, but what I'm saying is the timing is that the appointment is made by December. It's
Right.
not made prior to the next municipal election.
No, it's made
According
in
to that,
December.
if it's at the end of 2017, it won't be on the ballot until an off election year for us. So 2008.
It would be if it's they have to have their work done in 120 days after appointment, which is 45 plus 40. They have to start their work within 45 days. So basically, you're talking about half a year of work. So if they were appointed in December, by July they would be done with their work.
Right, but then the next schedule, we will have to have a special or whatever scheduled
Either a
election,
special election, or you could wait until there's a regular election.
which is 2019
Yeah.
or 18.
Yeah.
So we have a municipal election in 17, right? And then committees formed by December, and then the election for the charter review, which is an off-season I'm talking about council elections, is what I'm saying, our municipal elections. So it will be just charter questions on 18.
Right. There's no mandate as to when those items need to go on the ballot, so they could go on
In 2019.
special election.
Right.
They could, that you call a mail ballot election, which you could call, or you could wait until the next regularly scheduled election and do it then. It's up to the council as to when it goes on.
That's a long time. According to if we adopt a process by which do nothing, and wait to 2017 to do the full blown, which at that time, Mr. Shelley, we may be both not here, so it wouldn't do us any service to things that we may see need to be changed for future attempts. To wait to 2017.
Mr. Shelley?
Thank you. Yeah, my only request is that if we're going to convene a committee, I would prefer to convene that committee as soon as possible. I would have preferred to have convened it some January so that it has plenty of time to run its course. Because, the way I've seen in the past is that you've got till about May, and then come May, people are going on vacation, they're getting out of town, they're not paying attention to what we're doing, they're not going to be participating in any workshops that we hold. And so, to make sure that everyone's part of that process, the spring is usually the time to capture that body. So if we're going to do a full-blown committee-style format, that really only leaves 2 months to hold the committee, get recommendations, and then have some workshops on those recommendations to then come back to us with feedback from the community and let us make a decision whether we want to send anything that came of that to the ballot or not. Alternatively, it could be narrowed down where you guys specifically give me items that you want this committee to look at, and so that would shorten the time frame a little bit, because then the council would say, we want these 5 things vetted by the committee gets formed, we vet that, we have public workshops and discussions, and then it comes back before us for final decision. Or I guess we have the option to bypass the committee altogether and we just make those decisions here. We have the discussion for ourselves, we have our own workshops or whatever we decide to do, and then make a decision. But my only request is, if I'm going to be the chair of this, is that I don't want to be thrown something that we rush through in a month and it doesn't get done properly. That's my only concern, and I'll run it however you guys want me to run it, but that'd be my only request. I would have preferred to have started this sooner, but since we are where we are at this point, the sooner you can make a decision, whether it's going to be committee format or other format, the better the process will be and the better result we're going to come out with.
Well, and to that, that's why when we started this discussion just recently was, we are into a city hall move. We're into a very busy year of a lot of things that are going on. We're going to have to do this next year anyway. So a shortened down version, if the council wants to have specific questions looked at, any individual question, we operate in the charter more than anybody does from the public's aspect. So we could form a committee. Each of us could have put an appointment onto that committee because it's not required. We're not under the guidelines of the charter at this particular point. Those individual questions could be vetted by this group that is being chaired by you, Steve, and whatever comes out of that recommendation group comes back to this council for approval or denial. I mean, we've spent years in a process of going through the charter to have the council invoke none of the recommendations of what the committee did. So this, at the end of the day, you can slice it, dice it however you want to. The buck is going to be right here, and we're going to decide whether or not, this is going to the public. Whatever comes out of a committee, whatever comes out of a discussion, this council is going to say, send it to the voter, and send it to the voter in one of these primaries or one of the elections that are in front of us that the clerks provided us, or we're not. So, the sooner we come to some realization that we want to ask certain questions, the sooner we can pick out if we can hit one of these guidelines. But again, it's whatever we do this year, we have to do the full-blown process next year. Vice Mayor, I'm sorry. Vice Mayor.
It's okay, thank you. I think waiting until 2017 is too long, and I understand that we have to do it anyway, but I feel that there are some pressing items that we do need to tackle, and I would recommend a hybrid of what you suggested, Councilman Shelley, whereby we convene the committee, but we provide them some topics or area of interest that we want them to address, as opposed to convening the committee and then allowing them to come up with topics and then to present to us. So I think that will condense the time frame a bit if we provide them some structure and a frame of reference as it relates to what we want them to address. Thank you.
Mr. Burgess.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I too think that we should come up with a shorter version for this year and try to piggyback off of this coming November. And then, because as Councilman Williams brought up, it's going to be November of 18 before we get a vote on it, which means it would be the year 19 before any of it's enacted on. And that's a long way out. And I think there's some serious changes that need to be done with our elections, how they're done, and things like that. I think that need to be done sooner than later. And just for instance, I'll put one out there. I think that we've seen over the last 4 election or 5 election cycles the term of vice mayor. There's the $400,000 raised for people that are unopposed but would like to have the title of vice mayor. And I get that, because it's a title, and no matter what it is, it's an honor to sit over there and be called the vice mayor. But I think that for unopposed people to have to put themselves in that position and go out there and raise the money to do that is in a popularity contest is not good for the city. It's not good for people that have to go out and raise the money to campaign for a title, not for your seat, because you already have your seat if you're unopposed in there. And I think it might be more prudent for us to pick who sits up there on the merit of their work from the dais, more so than going out for a quote-unquote a popularity vote or whatever it may be.
It's a dual role position.
Right.
You're a council person.
Correct. And I think it brings a lot of confusion, and the clerk can tell you, a lot of people don't understand why my name is on one question, but I'm not on this question, or I'm running for vice mayor, but you're not going to be the council member anymore, but then your sign says council, but no vice mayor. So I just think it's an antiquated thing when the voters elected or passed a charter where we all have 4-year terms. That need of rotation, which was what that was set up for in years past, where the vice mayor and the second person in line would get, on that question, would get 4-year terms, isn't needed anymore, because the rotation is done now by the way our election cycle is set up. So I think that's one thing that I think we need to address sooner than later. And then I'll throw out another thing. I think that we have become a big city, and we need to look again at stability in this city and 4-year terms for the mayor also. The 2-year upheaval every year with everything that we're trying to do creates a lot of upheaval, and that. So I think we need to look at that. And then I'll put out one more thing. Back in the day, when I started campaigning, and Jeff started campaigning before I did, or Mayor Porter, excuse me,
Jeff.
There were only 30,000 people here, and you could go to those people. We're now at 68,000, 70,000 people and growing, and a lot of the communities you can't get behind. So I think at some point we're going to need to look at single-member districts, and that's for 2 reasons. One, you don't have to go out and raise $60,000 to cover the entire city. 2, your pool of people that can do the work may increase, and you're not eliminating people that don't have the ability to go out and spend the time to go canvass the city with 60,000 people. Because Larry Roth can tell you how long it took him to walk to 1,000 homes to get his name out there. And a lot of people don't have the ability, but they're known in their community as an activist or somebody who does good things, and that might give them the ability to be a bigger and stronger leader for the entire community. So those are the 3 things that I think we need to look at. And I know that's not what you wanted to hear tonight, Mayor, but those are some of the things that I want to put out there.
Mr. Shelley, then Mr. Williams.
Perfect. Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, one of my questions, I had a list of kind of, once we figure out, and I agree, I think that the hybrid is where I would prefer to go if we're going to go with this, because we can do that quicker, and we have pretty clear direction and let the committee vet it out. I think that will yield a good result for us to then analyze and make decisions on for sending items to the ballot. So then the next question would be, if that's what the majority would like to go forward with, is then how fast can we get the committee convened? Because it would be great to have them committee members appointed at the next council meeting, and that way we could kind of hit the ground running pretty quickly thereafter, as well as figuring out a methodology in which these questions that the council wants addressed or analyzed, what form are we going to do that? Is it going to be at the next council meeting as well? Is it going to be submitted to the clerk or to myself? However, we need to work around the sunshine law with the attorneys, so that I have the list of all the items that each council person would like for the committee to look into. I actually, while I've got the floor, I agree with the Councilman Burgess as far as I think the vice mayor issue needs to be looked at. I think the 4-year terms would be something else that we could discuss. The charter amendment, the way that the charter can be amended by petition, I think definitely needs to be, we've seen firsthand the way that it currently doesn't work. It makes no sense. It needs to be reanalyzed and make sure that we clearly delineate how we want that to be done. I disagree a little bit with the single-member districts, only because from a person who represents the west side of town, if we go single-member districts, it's going to be potentially 5-2 against the west. And so if those members on the if those members on the east don't necessarily whether the residents don't like the west. Now, we've changed things a little bit now with the downtown because we are investing money there, and I think it's going to become a hub that is going to be focused on. But had we gone back 2 years ago, there was a lot of people on the east side that kind of said, hey, look, we don't want any monies going to the west side of town. And with only 2 members over there, you're never going to get a majority, because the way it works now, you have 4 representatives over from the east side of town plus a mayor that right now is on the east side of town. And so you only have 2, we're going to get outvoted no matter what if it's a west side issue. So I think if you start looking at single member districts, you're also going to have to then look at making those districts fair and reapportioning the borders of those districts to make sure that the west and the east are equally represented up here on the council. Otherwise, you're always going to potentially run into issues where the new side of town doesn't. So anyways, that's just an issue I wanted to raise since we have that discussion. But I think that's something that should be vetted out by a committee and ultimately determined, by full discussion. So it's something that will be discussed committee-wide. But so anyways, those are the 2 questions we just need to kind of figure out is when we're going to get this committee convened, and then the methodology for getting the questions to be analyzed so that we can hit the ground running and get this thing done quickly.
Mr. Williams?
Thank you, Mayor. I didn't think I would be able, but John, I actually agree with everything you said. I don't know. I mean, you're on it tonight, my brother. Every single issue for it was what I was going to say. Somebody take a picture of this one. This, I agree with every word you said. I think those are prevalent issues, and then, the rotation with the vice mayor, whether it's a year or however the committee, obviously we're giving the chair this point in time of what our potential issues could be. I think that I'm in agreement with everything you said, Mr. Burgess. I think I would add or take away anything. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes,
that's it.
Mr.
I couldn't
Burgess.
believe that.
One last thing is, as somebody who lived through, fortunately or unfortunately, becoming the step-in mayor, that had put me in a bad position too, and it put the city in a bad position. So I think as we look forward, that's one other thing on the list that I would look is if somebody's removed from office, exactly what happens there, because it left me high and dry myself, but it would have left whoever was sitting in the vice mayor's seat in a precarious position at that time. So I think it's something that needs to be looked at and probably modified a little bit also.
Well, and I will say to that, Mr. Burgess, you all individually as council members sit up here and make multi-million-dollar decisions, make policy decisions, you move in directions quickly and nimbly, and if you're not capable of choosing from your body the person that you want to have sit in the center chair, there's a question here. Because I think that this body knows who at any given time can step up and do their job and fill a hole and fill a gap. And that's one of the things that I felt like the charter was a little disingenuous about, the role that the council members have to play on a day-to-day basis, that they're not capable of looking at themselves and looking at their own body and picking and choosing the best person that may or may not have to step in a bad situation. Because you have to have some flexibility as a governing body to move quickly, as you found out. So this is going to be a healthy discussion, but at the end of the day, the onus is on the council members. Mr. Shelley, we can set up the group. Again, it could be a 7-member committee. Each person from the council can appoint a person to serve on this committee. They can also, again, we can discuss the process by which the questions get forwarded to your committee, but the length of the duration of the time that you spend debating that question is all going to be relevant when it gets back here, because this body is going to say yes or no to any of those questions, and those questions are going to be forwarded to the electorate in some shape, form, or fashion based on your recommendations. Mr. Shelley.
I want to make clear that my role, how I view my role in this is just a neutral facilitator of the process, and so I will not be bringing back any recommendations. Anything that comes from the committee won't necessarily be something that I agree or disagree with. Right. I will be sitting up here and making decisions on it just like the rest of you will. My goal is just to be a facilitator of the process and not to inject any of my own personal opinions or otherwise guide it in any particular way, so that it just comes back here and you guys can have all the information you need to make your decisions, me included.
Okay, so we're gonna, Madam Clerk, we'll do a 7-member board. Each individual council person can appoint a contact person to the committee. It will be chaired by Mr. Shelley, and he can set the dates and times and meeting schedules. And then the process by which we get the questions would be to you, to your office. Individually, the council members can submit those questions to you to be forwarded to the committee. So, okay. So again, if it's a
She has mine.
if it's a formal, we need to have some formal written or some sort of formal documentation that goes to the clerk that can ultimately be sent to Mr. Shelley's committee. And obviously now we'll have the committee as quickly as the appointments come to the clerk. We'll set that up and then process this as quickly as possible to give you as much time so that maybe we can hit an election schedule that makes sense for all of us.
Well, that's what I was going to add. My last question was so that I can plan my schedule and timing, so I know how long I have to have this process run its course. Which election are we aiming for?
Well,
November. Okay.
November.
So that's
you
what I
want to
need
do it on a
understand.
presidential election?
I think that's better.
Is, we need to make sure of the ballot size. Because remember the one year when we stood in line for like 5 hours to try, because you had state questions attached to federal questions attached to, I just, the thing is we just have to be careful not to overwhelm the people that show up in a national election, because we have a core group of engaged voters that show up at these elections that follow the process. And then there is a large group of people that only show up in national elections and they don't follow anything else. So we want to make sure that we get as many people as we can, but also not overwhelm the election process itself. Vice Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just think that we have to trust that when you're going into that voting booth, that you are aware of what you are voting for. And since for the presidential election, this would be a captive audience and a perfect opportunity to have a lot of responses from our residents because the president is drawing them out. I think that we should have like an education campaign to let them know what will be on their ballot. But I don't want to assume that us putting these on the ballot would overwhelm them, because we have a responsibility as in the electorate to be educated on what you're voting for. And then I would kind of caution placing this on the ballot for a Homestead primary election, because when you place charter amendments around our election, it kind of, I don't know, it's like a dark cloud hovering over the city when it comes to placing those during an election cycle for the city. So I would just caution against that. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Roth, then Mr. Williams.
Just a question about cost. Does it cost anything extra to put these on the ballot during a presidential election versus a regular election? Or would it be more effective to do a direct mail campaign and have it mail-in ballot instead of them going to the polls that day?
That was the most expensive way, wasn't
The
it?
mail
Ballot.
was expensive? Okay.
Mr. Williams?
Yes, thank you so much, Mayor. And I agree with the Vice Mayor is that I think, and you're right, we do have a core group who come out for municipal elections and those who come out every 4 years for presidential. But I am confident that our voters are very educated and informed of what they are engaged in, what the issues are. And I do agree with the Vice Mayor that at sometimes during election cycles, I'll give you a clear one, I think back in 2007, there were charter questions that came out that placed, for us to have 4-year terms and the mayor to have 4-year terms. And it just came out to be thought would be self-serving for that particular period. And I do agree that if we can have this on not with a municipal election, then that gives a little bit more, to me, a credibility of the work that has gone into it, without looking that we're trying to make a change for the current, to benefit those who are actually running. So hopefully that we would perhaps have it in November on the ballot. and, these questions, and I'm very confident in the chair to facilitate that, and we move forward. Perhaps since I think three of us are saying pretty much the same thing, three questions already, or action items. So maybe do we want to limit it maybe to 5 things that we look at, or kind of put it in that perspective so that the ballot does not become overwhelming and voters are waiting a long time. So perhaps maybe, I think, was that what you were trying to get at, Mayor, to try to maybe, perhaps frame a limit of questions, perhaps?
Well, obviously, I think if all of us submit questions and it goes to the committee, then it'll come back to us and we can talk about the limit. There may not be that many questions.
Right,
we
right.
may end up with 4 or 5.
Right.
Because I think we're all fairly consistent with what our beliefs is, giving us problems in our charter.
Yeah, no.
And I don't think all of us are very far apart at all.
Oh, no. We're actually all pretty close.
So I think we need to establish the process, get it to the committee, have whatever process vetting that they do, and get it back to us in front of this board, and we can decide on specific.
When do you need the name for the, what is the deadline? I think, could we set a parameter of the deadline of the names to be given to the clerk, or so that the appointment could be made next week?
I'd like by the next council meeting.
Yeah.
So the appointments could be made next week?
Yeah.
For the charter review, if we get them, will anybody need that much time to get a member?
So you're suggesting we could have this on the 16th?
Yeah, I would like, if you could appoint, if we all provide you names and then you convene that committee and appoint that committee at the next council meeting next Wednesday, then I'll have what I need to at least start putting the process together, reaching out to those members, putting together when can they all meet, when is convenient times, because that's going to take a little bit of time to get the wheels moving.
So the most important issue for us is to establish a committee. We'll establish the committee on the 16th.
Okay, so we would need the names for the agenda for Friday.
By Friday.
By Friday.
Before
Okay.
Friday.
Right.
Before Friday.
That'll establish the committee. The questions, the issues don't have to be on the
Right.
16th.
Just the names.
committees, the names of the people that we want to put on the committee. Okay?
Is there,
Okay.
is there an official form they need to fill out or application or anything? No.
It's whoever you
Just a
want to put
blank.
on.
Okay.
Anything else, Mr. Williams?
No, sir, thank you.
Mr. Shelley?
Yeah, I missed what you guys said, Richard.
No, the point was the importance of establishing the committee on the 16th. So we really just have to have individually the names submitted to the clerk to put on the agenda so that we can ratify that committee.
Yeah.
Secondarily, after you get the committee established, we can also at the same time be constructing our questions to the committee. That doesn't have to be done on the 16th.
Correct, yeah, I don't have to have that because it will take it's going to take some time to get the committee convened for the first time, but when I convene the committee for the first time, I would like to have that. I can give you some more notification of when that'll be once I get going.
We'll have the names to the clerk by Friday for review for us on the 16th council agenda. That should establish the committee for you then. Then
Correct.
you have the ball, and then we'll structure the question format to get those through the clerk to your committee.
Perfect, I think that, and from what I heard from you guys, it's the November 8th election of this year, so that means the August 9th is the deadline to get our questions in. So I'll try to work backwards from there and give you guys some sort of outline of what I'm envisioning, and hopefully I can do that at the next council meeting as well. And then Attorney Weiss just pointed out I just need to be clear, which I think I did, but I'm not a voting member of this committee. I'm just a facilitator, and okay, just so we're all on the same page.
Mr. Burgess?
No, I just wanted to say thank you, Mayor, to you, because I brought this up at the last council meeting, and, I just wanted to make sure that we could try to move things forward, because after the last election cycle, I saw some things that I thought, to be tweaked.
I agree.
None of them are going to affect me, as I'm term limited out where I sit today, and so I was feeling that, I would carry the ball and the burden of some things that some people may not like, and facilitate them however I need, and I'll offer that to the chairman, Shelley. If he needs any help, since these are ideas that I threw out there today, or what my thought process is, please invite me to the meeting, and I'll come give them to your.
When they show up with the pitchforks, I'm going to hand the meeting over to you.
Well, and to the attorney, the charter's clear that we have to do a process next year. Doesn't say we have to do anything with that process. So again, we can form a committee next year. We can sit down. This council can have a discussion about, well, we've cleaned all of maybe these things up. Right, it comes back to us. Right. Okay, Madam Clerk, did you,
You got my...
anybody, did you have a question for me? No.
Just so you know that it would be a special election and there would be a cost for that election, even though it's piggybacking off of the county.
But it's minimal.
Pardon me?
Minimal, it's less
It's
expensive
not
than us
as
having our own.
expensive as your standalone, but
Right.
there is an expense.
Okay, well,
incurred.
that'll all come out of the committee. That'll all come back to us so, tonight, we wanted to get this into the neck of the funnel so we can start talking about establishing a process. Do we want to do it now? Steve, you're clear? Okay, so we get our stuff to the clerk, and then we'll start this ball rolling.
Anything I need clarification on, I'll hopefully have by Wednesday, but we're good now.
Okay, all right, so we're moving on. First of all, do I need to extend the meeting? It's 8:30. We need to extend the meeting for half an hour? 30 minutes. Is there a motion? Motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're on what tab?
4, I think.
Tab 4. Move, the minutes moved. Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Tab 5. Mr. Burgess, that's you, right? Resolution?
If you remember at our last council meeting, we had the Military Affairs Committee came forward
Orange cards.
and had a petition that they were trying to get a Veteran Affairs hospital over here. I know Ileana Ross-Lathan, our representative for the Miami area, is also supporting it, and I just asked for a resolution of support for that, and that's what this is tonight, and I'd appreciate any support that my colleagues could give.
Move it, Mayor.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Mayor, if I could ask a question, or...
Mr. Burgess?
Madam Clerk, could you send that to the surrounding areas, Cutler Bay and Pinecrest and all that, this resolution, after we pass it, I guess, on next Wednesday, after it does a consent agenda? And then if you could also forward it to Miami-Dade League of Cities, I'd appreciate it.
All right, sir. Anything else, Mr. Burgess? Thank you. Tab 6. Mr. Manager, Mr.
Staff recommends the mayor and council approve the attached resolution authorizing the city manager to purchase equipment for the Parks Department that includes football lights for Harris Field from Musco Lighting, 5 monitoring cameras for several parks from Q-Star Technology, and to purchase equipment for the Police Department that includes 5 Dodge Chargers for the 5 new officers hired in June 2015 from AutoNation, Chrysler Dodge, Cisco Network equipment from CDWG, 1 2016 Ford Explorer from Don Reed Ford, and 1 2016 Transit wagon from Hub City Ford. All these purchases are in accordance with existing contracts. Financing is through the SunTrust Master Lease. The fitness equipment will require a competitive bidding process with an award to be brought before the mayor and council at a later date. At this time, authorization requested on this item is for the purchase to be financed through the master lease.
Questions from, it's moved. Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Questions from council? Mr. Shelley?
I just, these are all in accordance with our CIP plan, correct? These were all budgeted, planned for?
That is correct. The CIP number is attached in the memorandum. Yes, sir.
Okay. And then my other question is we have some cameras, and we all know I'm not big on giving government cameras access to using cameras. So I have a slight problem with that. Where did those come from? Where did you guys get direction to move forward with cameras?
Other parks that we work with, of course, or with other municipalities, have the same problems we have. I'll give you an example, Roby George Park, where you have 4 thefts of the wiring of the stadium lighting. They pulled the wires, the copper wires out of the ground. The thing what these cameras do, 1, they're bulletproof. 2, they make an alarm, flash, and they take pictures, photographs, which will help us give it to the police to find the people that are doing these bad things to the parks, breaking into the concession stands at the baseball facilities. We're having a lot of problems with theft. This will help us prevent these kind of things that the insurance has to pay and puts a burden on the city.
Okay. Yeah, I don't support that. I mean, just as a principle, I don't support the camera portion of it. But everything else I think is good for the city. I think they're good improvements. So I can't support it as a whole. The only request I'd maybe ask from my colleagues is if we vote for this, if we could split it off. But I'm okay either way.
Councilman, just to answer one more question, lets her know that these cameras can be moved, so they're not stationed at one park. They can be moved to different parks to help us with the problems that we have in areas.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's just the principle. I don't like the cameras in general.
Okay, Mr. Burgess, did you have a question? Okay, well, it's moved and seconded, as is. So,
Yeah, I mean, if it's possible to, if you guys would accommodate me and vote for it.
You want us to take apart the camera so we can
Yeah,
vote
if you
no
would please, so that I can
without voting.
just express my dissatisfaction with the one item, but I can support the rest of the items, which I think are good.
make an amendment to...
With the point of clarification, Richard, can we, how we do that? We would
I
just...
would move the item without the cameras, and then come back to a second motion to approve the cameras, and then Councilman Shelley can vote no on the second motion.
Or we've got a motion on the floor in a second, we vote it, and let Mr. Shelley vote against it.
But he
Then
wants
he
to vote
votes
for-
against the
He wants to
entire-
vote for yes for everything else.
Okay, the motion maker and the second... And
I made the motion.
You made the
So,
motion?
yeah, I did. I made it to move
and it
it.
was seconded by the vice mayor. Well,
No.
oh, Mr. Burris, so sorry. So do you want to...
You know, cause you're on the west side. I'll withdraw my motion and to extract, to just, I move that we, which item is, that's...
6.
I'm trying to find the number, the CIP number.
1728, card 1728.
Which one has the number? Which one is the CIP?
609 looks like.
609.
Cameras for parks.
Okay, so Mayor, I move CIP number 504, 608, 673, 675, 670, 674.
And there's a second, Mr. Burgess. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Is there...
May I make a motion that we approve CIP number 605, monitoring cameras for parks?
Is there a second?
609.
609.
609.
That's what I said? Or did I say, I said 60.
609.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? One opposed. Okay, we're on tab 8.
7.
We did 7. We did 7 already. Right? Yes.
Oh, yeah, we did, yeah.
So tab 8.
Mayor, during the Committee of the Whole meeting, February 2nd, 2016, staff was given direction from Mayor and Council to proceed with the Homestead Imaginarium Library project, which will require the amendment of the CDBG Consolidated Plan and Annual Action Plan. The amendments are required in order to pursue a Section 108 loan to fund the library project. Staff's recommendation, Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution amending the city's Community Development Block Grant Consolidated Plan and Annual Action Plan.
Questions from council? Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any final comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Tab 9.
Mayor, staff recommends Mayor and Council authorize the city manager to approve the purchase of number 2 red dye diesel fuel in accordance with the Miami-Dade contract number 3143918-7. This request is also in accordance with Section 241.1A5 of the City of Homestead Code exemption from competitive bidding, allowing the city to utilize a bid or proposal which has been secured by other government agencies. The authorization shall extend to and include
I
extension.
move it, Mayor.
Moved. Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Tab 10.
Staff recommends Mayor and Council approve Garland DBS for the replacement of roof sections A, E at the GWIV power plant. Garland DBS will provide all roofing supplies related products.
I move
and
it, Mayor.
service.
Is there a second? Is moved and seconded by Mr. Shelley. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Tab 11.
Electric utility staff recommends Mayor and Council appoint William Billy Branch to serve on the Florida Gas Utility
Move it.
Board of Directors.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Any questions?
What is the term of the years? Is it how many years? 4? What is the term?
You're the alternative.
Yes. The term is as long as Mr. Branch is here in that capacity, or until the council wanted to appoint someone else. The current appointee is Ken Conkle, and Ken is retiring from the city, and he has been on that board for many years.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Tab 12.
Staff recommends mayor and council authorize the city manager to accept a settlement offer from Progressive in the amount of $10,000 for the damage to city electrical facilities at
Move it.
168.
It's moved. Is there a second? Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, 13, 14, 15, and 16 are purchasing insurance. If you wanted to take those together, you could.
Any opposition to taking them all together?
Mayor, I request a substantial presentation by the insurance. No, I'm just teasing.
No opposition. You're going to read them individually and we'll vote on them individually?
You just move tabs 13, 14. And
Okay,
then just,
second.
we need Vivian just to make a quick statement on number 16.
Okay, it was properly moved and seconded. Vivian?
Yes, hi, good evening. In regarding tab 16, which is the City Hall insurance, per procedure, we just need to make sure that we have the proper insurance coverage for the new City Hall. And because of the timing, unless you object, the city manager is going to move forward in purchasing a policy covering City Hall effective March 4th. The manager's actions will then be brought on for ratification next Wednesday at the council meeting. And as always, T.R. Jones, Mr. Tom Jones is here. They shopped around and they have recommended that we purchase this coverage.
So we need the coverage now, so he'll go ahead and enter into the contract. We'll ratify it at the council meeting, knowing that we had to have it
Correct.
Immediately. Any problems from the council? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, we are on,
17.
no, we did 17, we're on
We did
19.
17, we did 19.
19.
Staff recommends mayor and council approve the attached resolution, authorize city manager to enter into a mutual aid agreement between the city of Homestead
I
Police
move it.
Department.
It's properly moved. Is there a second? Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Tab 20.
Staff recommends mayor and council approve the attached resolution to purchase recycling carts, garbage carts for service to the city's residents from Cascade
I
Engineering.
move it.
It's moved. Is there a second? Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Tab 21.
Hold it. That was then, this is now.
Tab 21, Mr. Burgess.
Thank you, Mayor. As we approach November, which seems like a long way off, but it really isn't, our George's contract would be up for expiration then. And I thought it would be good to get stability here for the city as we have grandiose plans in place and being worked on each and every day. And I thought the stability would be good and the peace of mind for all of staff, the residents, and for George himself, if we could handle this, excuse me, out front and get it done early enough where it wasn't a deterring factor to anything else here in the city. So I asked Mr. Weiss to put on the agreement tonight. You can see that it's for the same amount of money that he's making now, and basically the same thing, just an extension. And I think the stability that's needed in this city is there. The manager has done an outstanding job for us and continues to do it each and every day. We may not always agree with everything that he says or does, but I think he has the best interest of the city of Homestead and all 68,000 of its residents at his heart. And that's why I brought this here tonight, and I appreciate you both moving and seconding it.
It's moved and seconded. Mr. Shelley.
I concur with what Councilman Burgess said. I think that City Manager Gretzis has done a fantastic job. I mean, I think he's far exceeded my expectations when the first vote was made to bring him on board here to the city of Homestead, and what he's been able to help us accomplish, and the direction that he's taken from the council, and then turning that into actual product and results, and really taking Homestead to a new level, and bringing forth things I know that exceeded my expectations. Things that I would never have dreamed of, as far as even the consultants that you brought in To even think that Homestead, 5, 10 years ago could have requested or brought those types of consultants for us to generate the projects that they have, I think is a testament to, your expertise and to your drive and to your unwillingness to settle. And so I think that has really helped us, succeed as a council. And so I want to thank you for that. I think we also are getting you at a steal. I really think that you should be receiving a raise. I do think that you have put the time and put the effort in, and we are getting you at a very, very good value compared to other city managers across the county, and probably not doing nearly as good of a job as you're doing for us. So I just want to put that on the record that I think you should be better compensated, but I definitely support 100% the extension of the contract.
Mr. Williams.
Yeah, I'd like to, this agreement, can it be amended as if in the content, we're able to do that now, right? So George, it's nothing personal, right? So I think you should get a bonus. It's not personal, but I think that I echo the sentiments of my colleagues, and I understand that there is you've been with us quite some time, and I understand that you've had COLA raises, but not an increase in salary. And I think that needs to really be evaluated again to, find it, because in your agreement, it does say based on performance that we're able to negotiate either a bonus or a performance. In other words, your contract states that, based on your performance of what you have done, should be evaluated. And I think that as a young man like you, starting a family, that needs to be looked at for whatever that's worth. But I think, I don't know, how do we come back or put that in perspective? George, this is not your time to speak because we're talking about you. So you just chill for 1 second. How is Richard how would we be able to make that adjustment?
His current salary is 180 plus, as it's been adjusted by COLA. So, you could do a raise of a certain percentage.
Yeah. George, I'm going to have to ask them to escort you. But seriously, maybe not, this current fiscal year, but perhaps the next fiscal year it will take effect. That's what I'm trying. I don't mean in the mid-year where we'll, but maybe in the next fiscal year, October 1st, that the amount will change.
So it would just take a motion for somebody to put a large percentage increase in there.
Well, let me get the rest of the council before we go.
Well, I'm just trying to
There's
get
a motion in a second, but.
Well, I'm just trying to get clarity on.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Okay, that's all right. Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Roth.
I haven't been around here very long, but I've been watching you for 4 or 5 years. And what I've seen, you definitely deserve this extension. I don't see this city functioning the way it does without you and the staff that you've brought to our city. For that, I commend you in your efforts and everything you've done for me so far while I've been here. I appreciate it very much. Thank you very much.
Vice Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. George, you look a little uncomfortable. You really do it, and I think that is typical of a leader who leads from the heart and not one who leads for financial gain or for accolades. So I can understand why you look a bit flushed and uncomfortable. But I just say that I support this because as an up-and-coming leader, I don't feel I've arrived yet. You inspire me as a leader, your skill sets and the manner in which you lead the city. It's a pleasure for me to work alongside of you, but it's an even greater pleasure for me to learn from you. So I thank you for your leadership, and I look forward to working with you years to come. Thank you.
Mr. Burgess.
Thank you, Mayor. And I just want to say, George was very humble. And when I was speaking with Richard, we were going back and forth speaking. And the first thing that he came back to me is that George didn't want a raise. And I was like, well, he deserves one, but he doesn't want one. So that's why the level of compensation was left where it was, because it shows his humbleness and his dedication to us for what he's doing. And, I didn't want to push the issue. I just wanted to make sure we locked him in and got him here and kept him here to see this vision through. Because if we were to lose somebody that has the vision and the abilities to do the things that he's done for us and continues to do and is going to continue to do, we would be in a world of hurt up here in this city.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to make sure we had it locked in, and come August or whatever, there wasn't, any problems with something, or somebody trying to come in and steal them away from us either.
Yeah, well, Mayor, I'm sorry. We're all passionate about this
Mr.
topic.
Williams, then George,
Yeah.
you can have a chance to speak.
So what I think is that, I make a motion. Well, thank you. But you don't know what the dollar amount I'm about to say yet. But I think, over the years, George, you've been, now this is what I'm asking you, George. You've been with us since 2000 and, I want to say 10, 11?
November 2010.
10, right? So 10, so it's been 6 years. So without, I think we need to really look at that. My motion is that as effective of October the 1st, that we only adjust his salary to up to $200,000. $200,000 salary, and the rest will stay the same.
Okay, so there's a motion. Is there a second on that?
Yes.
Okay, so let's go on vote on the first motion, which was to extend the contract. There was a motion and a second to extend the contract, and then secondarily we'll vote on the compensation package effective October 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? All in favor of the contract?
Aye.
Any opposed? All in favor of the rate increase effective October 1st?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, you can speak now, George.
First of all, I'm overwhelmed, and I really would ask you to just rethink the raise thing, because I'm a product of what my staff puts together, and
Yeah.
I thank you very much. I've enjoyed very much working with you all, and kudos to the staff, because we couldn't do anything without them, and I'm humble and grateful for your words of support, and I love working with each and every one of you, and we'll continue to work every day to improve this city.
And let me say to both you and Richard, and Richard, your firm, I mean, we couldn't do what we're doing without your involvement, and George, specifically you. I mean, the wheels would fall off without you at the helm. You got a great council, but a great council can only do so much without a great manager and a great management team. So I echo everything that they said, and thank you for committing to staying with us, because we need that. We need to, slice wrist and commit. I mean, we just committed big time to you and your philosophy and your direction and your desire and your work ethic. And just please stay with us. Please stay with us, because we certainly need you. Does anybody else want to say anything? Mr. Williams?
No, I yield to the Vice Mayor.
I just have one comment.
Vice Mayor?
I thank you for those comments to the mayor and the city attorney, because without them, the wheels will fall off. But as a council, I just feel it's important to say it's very important for us to stick together. And we've done so much in this community as a team. It's important for our wheels not to fall off.
Right.
So just keep that in mind as we approach the next council meeting.
Excellent observation.
Next guy.
Mr. Williams.
Yes. You know what, Mayor, and I think, to be all truthful and honest, and, I really think our clerk does an exceptional job. And I think next meeting, she needs to be put on the agenda to look at, she accepted a very low, moderate salary when she took the position. And I think to equate the work and the tenacity that she has done as well, not to take away from you, George, at this moment, but since they mentioned Richard, I need to mention that Sister Sewell is an electrical part of this team because the tremendous work, pressures of public records requests, and all of this stuff that we, have, and that she deals with the stress. And so I think she also needs to be looked at. Some adjustments made in her salary as well. And I know she would never say it, but it's like George, we have a humble team. So I think kudos to all of them, especially the three that we give oversight direct. Yeah, I think that Richard, you got a long way to go though. I'm just joking. But thank you, Mayor. But
Yes, sir.
I'm requesting that the clerk also be added to the next agenda to talk about her compensation.
We'll do that. Is there a motion?
Next Wednesday, sure.
Listen, if you just put that one first, I'll be done.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I just wanted to say something. I'm a little emotional tonight. I'm not going to be at your meeting on Wednesday night, but I think it's a huge step to be moving into that beautiful council chamber. And having experienced mold in the other one and those rickety chairs and other things in the original, and then coming here and doing this, I think that it's quite a step, and the council chamber that you guys are going to be sitting in is what the city deserves. And, it's a new day in Homestead, and that council chamber that I walked through today, sort of symbolizes the changes that are going on in the Homestead. And you guys deserve to be in that council chamber. The staff deserves to be in the council chamber. And we've had a great couple of weeks here. And the staff, the way that we work with the staff and the relationship that we have with the staff is just, at this point in my career, very gratifying. It makes me feel, very, very good. On the other hand, I'm not sorry I'm missing that meeting next Wednesday.
This community deserves that city hall. This community deserves that city hall. There's a lot of sweat equity that went into this community to stay afloat when we were in really, desperate situations. So this is for the community. It's their building. So motion to adjourn? Move it. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries.